The ban list is coming. Maybe? Hey everybody, it's Espira, and I'm back with another Dragon Ball Super card game video. Today we're going to be talking about the ban list, which has been the hot topic across the community. Now everyone, I've been asked, hey, you going to do a predictions video? What do you guys think should get banned? When are we going to get banned? I don't know. Look, the ban list is going to come at some point. For what it's worth, probably Worlds made them have to go spend more time in the shop to figure out what's going to happen. They're balancing the release of the game. I don't even know. At some point, we're going to get it. And I'm not really too keen on really taking attention to what could be banned because I think it's pretty much a given, right? Like something Crimson, something SS4 ramp, like the 6-drop Super Warrior, something red decks are probably still too good if we get rid of the blue decks, something one of the busted yellow cards, right? So instead of talking about specifically what will get banned, how about we talk about what should come off the ban list? Yes! Instead, we'll be doing what I think should be coming off the ban list. Because I just don't like making content that everyone else is making. So with that said, we're going to take a quick look. We'll forget about erratas because generally I don't think they're ever going to come back on erratas. But in terms of limit and bans, there's a world in which cards come back. So we'll see if we can make our way there. Very easy when it comes to the limits. You guys know I hate limits. I think they're absolutely ridiculous. I think they're a really weird way to say, hey, you can still play these decks, even though realistically you can't play these decks anymore. So I would rather they just be gone completely or that we get them all back, especially since you guys know that I hate the notion that hey, if you're playing a yellow deck, you're actually playing a deck that has 2 to 3 secret rares on top of the other secret rares it already plays, because guess what? You have to deal around 5 1-ofs and no one loves playing around 1-ofs. So it's just to me, it's just a feels bad experience where if your opponent sees the 1-of that they happen to be teching in, it's like, oh, great, he saw his 1-of. And then you as the player, if you've never seen it, you're like, oh, okay, wow, my deck's so inconsistent, yada, yada, yada. So generally, big take, Hope Universe 7, I think this could come back. This was only banned because of one ludicrous combo. I understand that it's very scary to be able to go into Awakened Power for 1, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think the card's incredibly good. I love the card. I think it's very on par, right? Like a triple attack crit that'll get rid of a card from your opponent's hand or board, I think is fine, especially as an A cost. I don't know. I know there's it scales with the more Gokus that are easily out there, but it's very specifically a Universe 7 Goku. I don't know. In general, I think it's okay. I think it's fine. But either way, it could also be completely banned. I think that's fine. This doesn't see play anymore, so you can get rid of it, you can keep it. And for what it's worth, a lot of these limits are basically bans. So do we want to see SS3 come back? No, you could probably just ban it. Bergamo can probably just go. I don't think I want to be in a world where Bergamo comes back, to be honest. Cell could probably come back. It's a 3-drop with no protection. Hey, if your opponent gets it off, he gets it off. Congrats. Power of a Super Saiyan could probably just be banned. When they see their 1-of Power of Super Saiyan in a super clutch situation, it's such a feels bad. And I forget this card exists all the time now. Janemba can come back, man. I understand that they got rid of Janemba as kind of a grouping of hey, all of these free plays, which by the way, we went back to a world of free plays anyways. But hey, all of these free plays are causing an issue for our game. But blue aggro is so cool and such a niche aggro that almost never. So this deck with Soul Striker was so sick. So I absolutely do think that this could come back as a 4-of. Drum can stay banned because King Piccolo was stupid. King Piccolo is a stupid card. I personally think it would have been better off with an errata on its auto, but either way, it can probably just completely go away. Trunks is probably fine, but also how many times has Vegex been hit? So maybe it can go away. The free counterplays, look, we're phasing all them out, right? Blue got banned, red is chilling as a 1-of. At this point, there's an argument made that we should just get rid of all of them at this point, especially since they're trying to phase away from a unison-centric play. So I could see them just saying, get rid of Yamcha. And then Cold Bloodlust, go just get rid of it, dude. It is so nuts that this card still sees play and insane moments of play. We saw it all throughout Battle Hour, through the LCQ and in Worlds, where the 1-of of this card is just so insane. And I get that it's limited to 1 lead or whatever, but again, hey, if you're playing a Golden Frieza, now I need to worry about the secret rare, I need to worry about Power of a Super Saiyan, I need to worry about Cold Bloodlust, and it's just get rid of it, dude. So that's it for our limits. In terms of our bans, things that can come back, we've got no skips on Goku. He probably can't come back just because he hoses too many archetypes, so he just removes design space in general. The Begrudging Respect Piccolo. When you play this card, if you place a card in your energy area during this turn's charge phase and you have less energy than your opponent, choose up to one of your opponent's energy and place it in drop area. Again, anything that's like this free of energy removal, they just have kept banned. So like, do I think they could come back? Maybe. I don't think our ramp options are awesome, but we still have Dende, which is like good enough, maybe. And generally ramp doesn't like turbo ramp the same way it does outside of like Beerus specifically. So this might just be fine. I don't know, but I'm not like harking for this comeback. Mecha obviously can't come back. I'd be fine if Bardock just stayed banned. I think it's like pretty overtuned. A 25k dual attack has closed out so many games, so I'm actually pretty okay with that. Turles. Can Turles come back? Do black decks need help? I don't know if black decks need help. If it came back, I think it'd be very interesting to see how much it helps, but I don't think black deck need the additional support. So I actually think this is just fine as is. I think Bojack can come back. The only thing you have to do is errata it to be only specific to the Bojack archetypes. I just don't understand why it had to stay generic or not at all. This was very clearly meant to work in like blue yellow strategies in the Bojack stuff. Just give it back to Bojack. I think that was perfectly fine. Roshi can probably stay back. I mean, it's tough to say like, hey, green doesn't need extra help. But I do think Roshi existing in a world where it basically says your extra cards now, you have like 8 copies of them. I think that's pretty nutty. I think it's a little overtuned. And obviously, it warps design space to think that anytime you print a green extra card, you have to think of, okay, but what if this deck had access to 8 of them? So I'm actually fine with this staying as it is. Plan for Destruction is an incredibly dope card. I like it a lot. And for what it's worth, Goku Black deck / Zamasu decks probably do actually need the help. But it probably is just too good. 1 energy to ramp is super busted. It's not limited. Honestly, I would almost say it's fine if it was like a limit once per turn. If it was a limit 1, at that point, I think we'd be in a space where we could see this come back. But as is, it cannot come back. Forced Ejection, bro. Same as for the Piccolo. They don't want cheap ways for you to be able to deal with ramp. I don't know. Fine. I have a sore spot for like Forced Ejection because he was part of one of my favorite decks of all time, which was the Apes and Taxes with the Vegeta leader. I thought that deck was so dope. But I can see why they don't want this come back because, again, they don't want just really super cheap ways to be able to deal against ramp decks. It's a little bit too hurtful to those strategies. And strategies that utilize putting cards in their energy and not necessarily ramping. King Piccolo can stay banned. This card's stupid. All of the Universe 3 black stuff can stay banned. That was all ridiculous. I don't know who tested this archetype, but, like, they did it wrong. And Vegex doesn't need this. Black decks don't need this. This Universe stuff can stay away. You know what? Would I be okay with Suicide Han coming back? Honestly, I do actually think this could probably come back. It's just I think there's like so many ways to deal against this, and like, was it kind of toxic? Sure. But like, green doesn't exist. This would be a very easy way to make green exist again. I think this is very aggressive. It'll as long as you have cards like free extenders, such as where's the clown? Yeah, I think as long as you have free extenders like Belmont that stay banned, which I think they should stay banned because it's a way that you can play around having uniques on board. I do think Suicide Dawn could actually come back, surprisingly enough. I don't know if it could stay back forever, but like if it came back for one format and we just see what happens, I think it'd be cheeky, especially in a world where like we're about to have Android 21 as a deck. I think having a really hard hitting aggro deck that can keep those kind of decks in check would do a lot of good. Cell can kind of not come back. I'm pretty okay with not having to deal with my opponent doing nothing all game and then I have no hand. Belmont can stay away. Like I said, he's just a free extension to a lot of like mechanics and ways decks are supposed to work. And then like he comboed with Dark Broly, he comboed with Suicide Han. Like he just did way too much, I think. So in general, Belmont can probably stay away. We've got Violent Predator. Man, this card, I have so many mixed feelings, but nevertheless, yes, this card should stay banned. I mean, bro, imagine being Violent Predator on like turn 3. Now that we have the new 21. So this couldn't come back before the new 21, and now with the new 21 leader, yeah, 100%. I'd be okay with this coming back, right? Like, it was at a 1-of, and then we all said how stupid a 1-of was because most decks were only playing it at 1. I think this is fine. Especially given how like a lot of decks you just auto awaken on turn. Like there's a cost to playing this. You need to play very specifically. Can it be stupid at times? Yes, absolutely. It's definitely won me games, but like there are real conditions and implications you need to make into your deck building to make this kind of a card work oftentimes, or the way that you play the game. And then if you get it at the wrong time, it's literally just a dead card. So I actually do think Heartfelt Plea could come back and it would be a-okay. I don't know so much about Pan. I think she kind of does too much. The ability to just take, say, any yellow card gets to restand and then swing again, I think is pretty busted. Especially, we've seen how strong that is with the Broly leader, the yellow Broly BR leader, where it used to restand anything. And then that was like obviously very backbreaking. So I think it's too vague. It ended up going in Sin Shenron decks, and those are extremely busted. So I think that's one position where, unfortunately, I think the restand of anything is too wide to really be a fair card. Alternatively, Beerus is like fine. Like, I get why it was gone, is because like it's a lot of free aggro in a time where free aggro is a thing. And I'm not saying I'm trying to go back to a world where we like die to aggro on turn 2, even though I think there are a lot of defensive options to mitigate that these days. But I would understand why people wouldn't be in love with the notion of Beerus coming back. If it came back, I think it'd be fine. But if it didn't come back, it would be okay. Tao, unfortunately, cannot come back as much as I would love it, just because it's too punishing to a lot of archetypes that force you to discard. Tao is good against things like Topos and Floodgates, even though not all of them send to the drop now. But Tao just basically says that hand destruction can't exist, which I don't want to be in a world where hand destruction can't exist. I hate hand destruction, but I don't want to be in a world where it doesn't exist. Same thing with Tien. It's just too punishing. It does way too much against blue decks. I think blue decks already have a ton of hate pieces. I don't think decks need the additional support to do it, even though, yes, I know blue decks are like the top of the meta right now. But I don't think Tien, while it would help, is the solution to that. I'm not fond of silver bullets. So in general, if we can avoid cards like these, I actually think Child Wish can come back, man. I understand there's like a design space issue where they have to be careful about every single card they print that's a 3 cost or less, that's 15k or less, blah, blah, blah. But like Shenron decks don't see play. And Shenron decks have like a lot to work around to actually be half decent given the way that they play at the moment. So I think Child's Wish coming back and just giving them a way to play as degenerates. Look, I'm Mr. Degen, so I like my Degen stuff sometimes. I think there's a world in which this could come back and it'd be like, fine. Go 7 can't come back. Ridiculous, still ridiculous. No one wants to get Android 17 2 turns sooner, and it's only one-sided. That's absolutely ridiculous. Sparking is like an almost nothing burger these days to actually get. And we have even better Gokus and Vegetas. Hard pass. I've seen people tell me that minus Killy Zone can come back. And you are high, dude, if you think that. I'm telling you right now, there is not a world in which this card can come back and it's okay. Like, you're basically saying, just let my opponent kill me, right? Not to say that there's a ton of counterplays these days, but there's enough to work around it. Yo, we got to follow. But there's enough counterplay still being played to deal with some problem cards that like this would be a huge issue. This could never come back. I've been on record once before, and I'll be on record again. Bardock can come back. 1-2 swap can be a thing again. There are so many ways to punish that kind of strategy. And I've seen people tell me like, yo, yellow would be tier 0 if it had an early aggro that swap has. And I'm like, I hear what you're saying, but like, I still think it's okay, dude. We have so many more defensive options that we used to have. Being able to mitigate like weenie aggro is almost nothing. It's 1 and 2 drops. There's so many ways to deal with 1 and 2 drops. There's so many more floodgates. In general, I think this is perfectly fine. It could come back. It would reinvigorate some old archetypes. But the question is, does yellow need the help? I don't think yellow needs the help. So it's not necessarily looking at it from that standpoint. But if we're talking about a standalone card and a standalone archetype, like it could bring back some swap archetypes, which I think would be super dope. Flute probably can't come back. I think it's still degenerate. The ability to cycle Flute to get a card back in your hand that you can then replay, especially with like how many cards have unique now, and you probably don't want to avoid things like that. I think it's probably better off not. Fu Shrouded can stay banned. That card shuts down too much, right? Like, don't get me wrong, Fu would be amazing against the blue decks these days, but I don't like that there's effectively 0 counterplay to cards like these. It's just that doesn't feel okay to me. Trunks can't come back. Unfortunately, it's just too much free hand advantage for a lot of black decks. It literally just says, "Hey, do you ever go to the warp? Then go back to the hand, right?" And that's just too much. Shugesh can't come back. I would love for Shugesh to come back because he's so stupid and he brings together so many archetypes that I love. But no, Shugesh can not come back. SS3, the way it was, cannot come back. Plus, we have the reboot, so it's fine. And the reboot actually does okay. As much as I love this archetype, reboot can't come back. Zeno Button is hilarious. Can't come back. The ability to just like there are decks that do this, but they're balanced around the ability to be able to do this. To be able to say that any deck who wants to is able to do this is just way too much. Especially for 0, man. This costs 0, dude. That's nuts. And it does multicolor? No. I think Unyielding, probably, never mind. We dealt with Bean. Unyielding is kind of like the exact same thing, except it's leader locked, but blue doesn't need the help. Unyielding can stay that way. Haze obviously can stay banned. Sin Shenron does not need the ability to have a 20k double striker on like turn 1. That's absolutely ridiculous. SS4 can obviously stay banned. Again, the archetype doesn't need help. This can stay banned. I think the world of SS3 Gogeta being like a busted deck is gone now. I think let's open it up to new black strategies. I don't know if Cumber's the way, but I do like that this being gone means that every black deck isn't just like an SS3 Gogeta deck, you know? Piano can stay gone. King Piccolo is stupid. That can stay away. As you know, as the guy who says he likes degen, I think the play patterns of Piccolo were just too strong. I still stand that Secret Identity was fine. So I could see it coming back and really not care. I think it was a nice answer for decks that don't have great answers to like certain things. Power Legend. So they naturally got rid of like all of these black cards, right? They got rid of the Son Goku and they got rid of the Bardock, where it's like, hey, if you're playing a specific color, wear a black card that does an additional thing. Again, they got rid of free plays, so it makes sense. God Sealing hit too much. I think I'd be fine with like God Sealing coming back with an errata that like says like, hey, it can only hit 6 drops or less or something like that. But the fact that it hits everything definitely just makes it way too good. So I'm fine with that staying away, even though like it did see less and less play the later the meta went on, right? We used to be at 4 of them, then we were at 2 of them, sometimes we were at 1 of them. I think it being at gone completely is fine. Tau, again, just free play. They don't want free play. I get it, even though there's still free play in the game. But anyways, we've Battering, can't come back. Objection, I would love for this card to come back. Can't come back because it's just too generic ramp. Imagine like a Beerus deck that has the ability to also Objection on top of being able to use Whis, right? Like just no. And with that said, that was pretty much all the banned cards that I think could come back, could stay away. The limits that I think should go to 0 or sure go to a playset again. In terms of erratas, like I don't know. I don't see them ever going back on erratas, especially not now that we're in a position where they reprint errata cards, which means it's like now we need to go back on the pre-errata cards. I think that's a little bit ridiculous. I do wish this list was shorter. I do wish a lot of these erratas weren't just because they don't know how to translate cards sometimes. But in general, I think whatever's here is going to stay here, and I don't think I'm particularly a big hater of that in general. So we're going to leave the errata list as is. I still think this was like a big oof. I think this is an oof because guess what? This leader has never seen play a single day in his life, so that's unfortunate. But anyways, we'll just accept that for what it is. With that said, guys, that was my take. Instead of talking about the things I want to see banned, instead we're going to talk about the things I want to see unbanned, because to hell with making content that everyone else is making. With that said, guys, let me know, what cards would you like to see unbanned, or what did I get wrong? What do you guys not agree with? Like, is it the Bardock swap? I don't know. With that said, let me know in the comments down below if you guys like these type of videos. I know I don't make Dragon Ball content super regularly, but of course, I love to keep up with what's happening with the game, and I'm excited to see what's coming out with the new sets. With that said, give it a thumbs up if you're all about it. Give it a thumbs down if you're also not about it. Sub buttons down there if you want to catch more of my content. With that said, I'll catch you guys on the next one.